This house represents to them the life that they want. This house represents to them the person that they are aspiring to become. So when someone buys a house from you, they're buying a life, they're buying a character that they want to become, they're buying a vision. Your ability to evoke that vision and get them to feel it comes from words, and it comes from questions, helping them imagine with questions. How would it feel to live in a house like this? And you want to talk about the value of an agent or the value of a salesperson. That's a really valuable service to offer, is to help someone get clear on what they really want. You know, what do you want is layer one. What do you really want is layer two. Helping them think through their decision-making process. Imagine you see several other houses, helping them think about their buying process because they've never done this before, or they've maybe done it once, and it's so fraught with emotion and fear that you can really offer them a valuable service. What kind of house do you want is level one of the depth of this real question, but who are you now and who are you becoming is the real question.
Welcome to the Top Real Estate Influencers Podcast with your host, Alex Montalenti, and today's special guest, Majeed Mogharreban.
Nailed it. Hello.
So Majeed is a longtime buddy of mine. Majeed is somebody I met years ago at an event called Archangel. I don't know if you remember that. And I remember you walking up on the stage and going, Majeed like magic. And I'm like, there's just something magical about this guy. He really knows how to hold himself on stage. He really knows how to speak. And for me, that was huge because I was scared out of my mind to get on that stage. I had like 169 seconds to speak, some crazy number. And I was freaking out. Like I was so scared that I waited at the end of the line and then got forced to go the next day. But Majeed got right up on stage and just started speaking and sharing, and people connected with him. And ever since, I've seen him grow into this expert speaker, and he's written books and best-selling books, and he's coached people on speaking, and he's been on huge stages. And he's not a realtor, but I think the value that he brings to this community as far as becoming an influencer, which he has done, what he's applying with social media, and how to get speaking gigs, how to get paid to speak, how to get influence through speaking. These are all topics that I'm looking forward to diving into with you. So let's get into it. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Alex. Yeah, great memory. And I'll share a couple principles from that experience. So we were at an event and they said, if anybody wants to give a talk, you've got 2 minutes, step up to the microphone. And I've trained myself that when there's a microphone, you just go for it. You don't need to, think, what am I going to say? I'll give you a quick example. I was at a conference once and they said, it's time for questions and come up to the microphone. So I jumped up. I don't have a question, but as I'm walking to the microphone, I'm like, okay, I have a question. But I start my question off like this. Hi, my name is Majeed like magic, and I help entrepreneurs become better public speakers. My question is, and then I asked the question. And what I just did there in a half a sentence is sort of my elevator pitch, right?
Yep.
Now I say Majeed like magic. And I do that because you can remember now, it's 6 years later, Alex, you remember me doing that. And so there's a couple of principles there. One, the first principle is when you say it with a beat, it makes it easy to repeat.
Love that.
So I give it a little bit of a rhythm. Majeed like magic. Can I do this little hand thing? And this originally came from, my name's Majeed Mogharreban. I grew up in California, and people thought it was Majeed because there's a lot of Mexican, Latino, so they don't know. Is it Majeed? Is it Majeed? Is it? And so my name is unusual to most people, and so I help people remember it by thinking of the closest word, magic and Majeed. I remember I was at a party once and I met an Indian guy called Sadir, and he goes like this. I'm gonna dictate what I'm doing in case someone's not watching the video, but he makes like a crying face and he says sad, and then he tugs on his earlobe and he says ear, and so he goes sad ear. And that was 10 years ago, and I'll never forget it. And I immediately said, dude, thank you. I will never forget your name. So my belief is that don't just be easy to remember, be impossible to forget, be unforgettable. So I started calling myself Majeed like magic. Then I was making these videos on social media back before TikTok, like Facebook videos, right?
Yeah.
And I was aware that the user experience of someone on Facebook is scroll, 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 and the sound is off. And so I realized what I needed to get people to do is to stop scrolling and turn on the sound. And so what I would do is I would wave my hand like with these magic fingers in front of the phone camera just to get people to stop scrolling. So I added that to like Majeed like magic. So go for the microphone whenever you can. Be unforgettable. If you say it with the beat, it makes it easy to repeat. Those are the principles I wanted to share with you just now.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's awesome. So tell me where your whole desire, passion for speaking began.
You know, I did theater when I was a kid. I did speech team when I was in high school. It's like a competitive speaking club. And I realized I was good at it. And I really love people, making people laugh through stories, through jokes. And, you know, I think it comes from, you know, in my childhood, I kind of grew up in a home that might have been like emotionally volatile. And I think as a kid, I had this idea that if I just make people happy and if I just make people laugh, everything will be safe in the house. And so it's a bit of a gift and it's a bit of a trauma response, if you will.
Mhm.
I can really I can control the emotions of a room. And that talent expands into other forms, like being a DJ, for example. Being a DJ is like the art of setting the mood of the room with music. And so now as I host events, I don't even think of it as hosting an event. I think of it as designing an experience.
Yep.
And I have these parties that people are just like blown away. It starts with the invitation and the confirmation and the graphic that I make to invite people to the house. And then as I'm thinking about people coming into the party, I'm thinking about what are they going to see? What are they going to smell? How are they going to be greeted? And the whole flow of the experience. So when I'm coaching someone on a speech, I give them 3 questions. I say, what do you want people to feel in your speech? What do you want people to learn in your speech? And what do you want people to do? And so, you know, I'm dating a mortgage broker right now. We had 120 people come to a house party. It was black tie. There was a DJ. There was a fine art painter painting a fine art oil painting in her kitchen, in my girlfriend's kitchen. And I try to have an element of surprise. And I was really bursting at the seams just because I really wanted to tell people about this, but I decided to keep it a surprise. In the middle of the party, I got everybody silent. I was on a microphone. I stood up on a chair. Everybody silent. And then this opera singer breaks out singing opera in the middle of the crowd, going from person to person. And, you know, if I would have advertised, dude, you guys got to come to this party. There's going to be a freaking opera singer. That would have been cool. But what was even better is this element of surprise. And people are still talking about this party, and it's been months later. And at the beginning of the party, I had people fill out a form. Do you have a mortgage? Would you like to refinance? Are you thinking about buying a house? And then these leads for my girlfriend, you know, she's been doing coffees and phone calls from those 120 people that came out to her house. And I just did that because that's what I do. Like, if I'm like, how do we grow this business? Let's throw a party and get a freaking opera singer. That's how we roll.
That's a great open house idea.
Yeah.
There you go. Awesome. I love it. So there's a lot of people in this audience that are, you know, new to the business of real estate, people that have been in the business of real estate for a while. They want to get influence. Let's talk a little bit about what that looks like as far as getting on stages. How can that affect your business? How should you get on stages? How should you either get paid to speak or speak and get paid? You know, talk a little bit about that process, because I think, you know, Inman Vegas is coming up, which is a big real estate connect event. and there's going to be a lot of top real estate influencers speaking on stage. And I noticed that it's the same people over and over and a couple of new people. And these people have such reputation and credibility in the business at this point that the business just comes to them. And I think all realtors at some point should be aspiring to speak on a stage if they want to get that kind of exposure.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Speaking is an unfair advantage. It's not even fair. You're in a completely different category in the mind of the general population. I notice on your background of this Zoom, you've got a QR code because you're an internet genius, and you have one picture of you. And that one picture of you is you speaking, because
Right.
nothing says authority like speaking. When you're speaking, typically you're standing and your audience is sitting. They're looking up at you. They're taking notes. They're learning from you. It's implied that if they're paying attention to you, it's implying that they want to learn from you. It's creating a form of gratitude. They're, thinking, thank you. This is useful. This is valuable, right? And by the way, that's happening right now. There's you, there's me, and there's our listener, right? Why is she listening to us? Why are you listening to us, listener? It's because you believe we have something valuable for you. So I was just talking to, I've been doing this now 12 years. And there's a guy I've known for 9 years. I was just talking to him yesterday. He said, Majeed, the first time I saw you, the first time I ever saw you, you were speaking. And for the longest time, I thought you were just like on a whole different level. Now he's one of my closest friends, and we're buddies. He still has a lot of respect for me, I'm sure. But it's the best conceivable first impression is as an expert speaker. An expert speaker is someone who can speak to a group of people online, in a room, and command authority because of their expertise. Now, if you're listening to this, you might be thinking, yeah, but I'm not an expert. I just started in real estate. If you just started in real estate, you are an expert to everybody who's not in real estate. You know more than everybody who's not in real estate. You might think, well, but what about the guy who's been in it for 20 years? Now, the one thing you have that no one else does is you have your story. And your story will resonate with certain people. And that's really where I specialize, is finding how do you want to resonate and what elements of your story do we need to emphasize that express your values that are going to attract the right kinds of clients. And I'll tell you a little bit about how to do that in a minute. But every great speaker who's standing in front of tens of thousands of people on stage started by speaking to 6 people at a Denny's at breakfast. And when you go to those boring networking events, those ones where everybody sits around a table and they say, I'm Bob, I'm an accountant, and I'm Jim, I'm a home inspector, you stand up, you straighten out your suit, you look around the room, and you say, I'm Majeed, I'm the best real estate agent in town. I'll sell your house faster and for a higher price than anybody else. Come see me, I'll get you a quote on your house. Dude, command the room, command respect. And that starts, of course, with respecting yourself. Being like, yeah, I am really valuable to people. And Alex, you and I, we know a lot of people. We're very well connected. As a real estate agent, when someone gets to work with you, they get all of you. They get your connections, they get your love, they get your wisdom, they get your vibe. And this is one of the biggest decisions of their life. And they want to work with someone who's got some smarts and got some wisdom and has the ability to ask the right questions and has the ability to stay cool in times of chaos. They're looking at you for all that. So if you don't believe you're all that now, create an alter ego character. That alter ego character is well-dressed, well-spoken, thinks clearly, does great work, and be that alter ego character until you feel like that's actually you.
Love that. I was thinking of, I used to go to a lot of real estate offices before COVID, and I noticed that different realtors had different fortes, different specialized areas. Like, hey, I know this neighborhood really well. I'm really good at open houses. They would share in their meetings, like they would stand up for a second, just share, I had a really successful open house, or, this new condo development is coming up on the market. That's an opportunity to speak. Like if for the realtors listening, if you're not ready to get on stage yet, get on stage in your own office. Teach other realtors about something that you are doing well, or some level of expertise that you have within that industry. And the truth is that fast forward that 5-10 years later, that's what these influencers are talking about on stage. How they built a great team, how they used farming to grow their business and they went from 0 to 10 million. How, something that started as, oh, I'm really good at this, turned into like their thing. And then they became an expert and spoke about it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a good point. Every time you can speak to a group, whether it's your fellow agents, whether it's your friends, whether it's the one person who walks into the open house, let's talk about how we can use language in a home showing to connect to emotion. So one of my favorite words is the words imagine. Imagine waking up and having a coffee and sitting on this porch. Imagine having a look at this view, sitting here watching the sunset with your love. Imagine your kids running around and playing in the basement. Great word, imagine. Feelings. How do you think it would feel to cook in a kitchen like this? How do you think it would feel to host a dinner party in a home like this? So get them imagining living there. Be sensational. What does it feel like? I love the feel of this carpet when when your shoes are off and your toes, you're walking in the morning, and especially on a cold winter day. Oh, you're going to love the carpet. You're going to love snuggling up by the fire with your lover, because this house represents to them the life that they want. This house represents to them the person that they are aspiring to become. So when someone buys a house from you, they're buying a life. They're buying a character that they want to become. They're buying a vision. And so your ability to evoke that vision and get them to feel it comes from words, and it comes from questions, helping them imagine with questions. How would it feel to live in a house like this?
Yeah, that's great. What it brings to mind is like, I just moved into a house and I'm thinking, what does it feel like for me? And what did I imagine? And for me, it was like this sense of family, right? It's this, I imagined having dinner at the table with the view of the backyard, which is something I haven't had for the past 2 years because my living room and my dining room were just like one big thing, right? And this house has like its own dining room area, and it gave me this feeling. And I just imagine it as like, the price didn't even matter as much as like that feeling, right? So I totally get that and bring it in that language. And I think one thing that's missing, I've been sharing this a lot lately because I went through the process with realtors, is nobody asked me what's important to me. Right? Like, not what's important to me. Like, do you want 2 bathrooms or do you want 3 bedrooms? Yeah, I get all that. Those are the details. What's important to me? Like, my family's important to me. My kids are important to me. So now as a realtor, you can speak to those things and have them imagine those things and like invoke sensations for those things. But it's interesting to me that we never asked that question. And I invite the audience, like, just ask, like, what's important to you besides how many bedrooms and bathrooms and all that? I ask all my employees that question, and it's amazing because they open up and they share, right? And then you get a window into their life.
Yeah, and you want to talk about the value of an agent or the value of a salesperson. That's a really valuable service to offer, is to help someone get clear on what they really want. What do you want is layer one. What do you really want is layer two. Yeah, helping them think through their decision-making process. So imagine you see several other houses. Walk me through the steps of how you imagine making a decision.
Right?
Helping them think about their buying process because they've never done this before, or they've maybe done it once, and it's so fraught with emotion and fear. that you can really offer them a valuable service. And I really think like, what kind of house do you want is level one of the depth of this real question. But who are you now and who are you becoming is the real question.
Right. Yeah, for sure. I also want to mention that Majeed is a real wordsmith and a magician. And if you're on following him on TikTok, this is where this guy is really shining lately, with these short videos using language and using words that definitely invoke sensations and also have you look at life and those words a little differently. So where can they follow you on TikTok? And we're going to get into social media in a second, but
Yeah, the TikTok handle is called Expert Speaker.
yeah, so I was following Majeed for years. I mean, we talk about life. We both recently went through divorce, so we talk about all the, you know, all the deep stuff. And then I'm seeing him show up on social media in a new way. And then I see him show up on TikTok. I'm like, oh, I remember when you posted your first TikTok and then you disappeared for like a year, right? And then you came back, but you came back with full force. And I saw your following start to go, you know, from 1,000 or whatever it was to 10,000, then from 10,000 to 20,000. And then within weeks, it was like 100,000 and then 200,000+. I'm like, what is going on here? Right. And he's just producing these videos. And I ended up hiring the same company that he uses, but his content performs way better than my content. And I think you've hit on something here with language and with words. You want to share a little bit what inspired you to launch this TikTok channel and these videos?
Yeah. Well, I was equally shocked, if not more shocked than you. You know about social media, and you probably knew a lot more about TikTok than I did. I remember the first time I saw TikTok, and I saw how addictive it was for me, because you know, the lip syncing and the dancing, and my first couple of videos were like lip syncing and dancing, because that's what I thought the platform was for. And you know, I made some like goofy videos for my kids with some filters where like my lips are big or like the sound is weird, and I didn't really know how I was going to use it. But then I started seeing some of my buddies get like, you know, 10, 15, 20,000 followers. And I've been in business for 10 years, and I built an email list of like 2,000 people in 10 years, right? I got my Facebook friends up to 5,000 people, and those are mostly people that I actually know. So, you know, those are the numbers I was working with. And I always dreamed about what life would be like when I had 10,000 email subscribers. And I still have, I think I probably have 3,000 right now. And so, you know, with TikTok, it was overnight. It was like just blew up to 250,000 people. But I'll tell you what I ended up doing. So for a year, I sat on I should do TikToks for a year. That was from 2020 to 2021, March, something like that. And then finally I reached out, and I realized like, okay, I've been telling myself I should do TikToks for a year, and I'm not doing them because I don't know. I like open up the app and I look at this phone, and I'm like, what am I going to, I don't know. And then I just don't do it. Meanwhile, I saw a buddy of mine go to 100,000 people, and I was like, all right, I got to do this. I reached out to him. He introduced me to the guys that I introduced you to. Yeah. And they offered me a package. They said, we'll come to your house, we'll film it, we'll edit it, we'll upload it. All you got to do is talk. And I'm like, great, I can talk. I know how to talk, and I don't know how to do all the other stuff. Like I have a nice camera, but it's more than just a good camera. There's a lot that goes into it. There's a lighting thing. There's a color correction, post filming, and they make it look good. Like if you look at my videos, like I'm like, damn, that looks good. Right? So it has that instant like, whoa, this is like a high quality video. This is not like on a phone video. And you know, I've seen people grow way beyond 100,000 with just phone videos, walking around the house or whatever. But I do think that high quality video is nice. Okay, now I'll tell you my specific numbers. I spent $2,500 a month for like 5 months straight to do this. So I sunk 12 grand into this. And what that got me is we've posted now like 90 videos. And I think we've got like probably another 40 in the queue getting edited. So the way I think of that is like that's 150 videos, and those are timeless assets. Meaning, none of my videos say join me on my webinar this Friday, and none of my videos say Merry Christmas, tomorrow's Christmas. There's nothing timely about them. They're all timeless. And so my vision is that people can discover me now at any point in the future and sit and watch all these videos. And in fact, that's exactly what's happening. Wherever I get discovered, say, for example, this podcast. If you're listening to this podcast or if you're watching this podcast, go to my TikTok and you'll see the first one probably lasts 30 seconds. And it'll be so freaking good, you'll want to watch the next one. And this is where the term binge worthy comes in. All right. So you're going to want to binge all of my TikToks, and you will see a lifetime worth of work condensed into a series of 30-second nuggets. And you'll get through all of them probably in less than an hour if you just sit and watch all of them. But what's incredible about it is if you and I ever have the pleasure of meeting, or if we ever have a phone call together, you're going to feel like you know me really well. And this is the power of social media. This is the power of video. And my most recent example is a pretty remarkable story for me. It's quite remarkable for me. So I met this guy on TikTok, connected with this guy through TikTok, and we followed each other's TikTok channels for, I think, a month now. Then I get a message from him saying, hey, my buddy's got a keynote speech coming up. He would love it if you could help him. And I said, sure, that's what I do. And I gave him my link to book a call with me. It's a free strategy call link. By the way, if you're interested in booking a strategy call with me, it's expertspeaker.com/apply, APPLY, expertspeaker.com/apply. So I send that link to this guy. I'm out at the cottage. This is last week. So I go take a nap because that's what I like to do at the cottage, just take a nap whenever I can. And I wake up and I look at my calendar and I realize I'm 30 minutes late to a strategy call I didn't realize I had. And I'm like, where did the strategy call come from? And then I look at it, it's like, oh, it's the guy that just asked me for the link like 2 hours ago. So this guy just like, I should probably change the settings on my calendar software because it allows people apparently to book a call like in 5 minutes, starting in 5 minutes. So I text the guy. I'm like, sorry, dude, didn't realize you booked the call like that. And he said, don't worry. Just we found another time, like an hour later, same day. So I'm on the call with this guy. The guy opens the call with my new favorite words. Dude, I just watched all your TikToks. Okay. So this guy is a founder of $1 billion startup. Software company. Didn't exist 5 years ago. Now it's $1 billion software company. And he has a big speech coming up in Austin, Texas, that he wants to crush it, that he thinks can take his business to an even bigger level. Within 45 minutes, he paid me 25 grand.
Wow.
To do keynote speaking. Now I'm just a public speaking coach. I'm just a guy, but this guy watched all my TikToks and he trusts me. That there's no, like he wasn't referred. I mean, he was referred by another guy on TikTok. But it was the easiest sale. And I got off that phone and I was just like, wow, thank you, TikTok. And yeah. So what happened there? Someone discovered me, someone referred me, someone watched all my TikToks. And there was this trust. And I think probably in his mind, I'm like a little bit of a celebrity. This was an interesting experience I had. So there's this woman who's got like 300,000 followers on TikTok. I follow her, and she offered a one-on-one strategy session for $100, and I purchased it and I got on with her. And what she's offering in these strategy sessions is like to give you some strategy on TikTok. Okay. And I'm like, well, she's doing good. I should, $100. I get on the phone with her and we follow each other. And I said to her, you know, I kind of think of you like a little bit of a celebrity because I watch all your TikToks. And she was like, oh my God, I watch all of your TikToks. And I think of you as a celebrity. And I just figured you're like doing way better than I am. And I think it's because the quality of my videos, like my quality of my video is really good. Her video quality is clearly she's walking around with her phone. So she made some assumptions about me. I'm not saying they're wrong. But it was funny because we both kind of said to each other that we feel like each other is celebrities. And I'll save you the $100 and I'll tell you what she told me. She said, post on TikToks. She said, post on TikTok 10 times a day. I was like, what? 10 times a day? Are you kidding me? She's like, yep, 10 times a day. That's how she grew her following. And you know, I think there's wisdom in that. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, the Grant Cardone rule, 10x rules, like just do 10 times more than you think you're gonna do, and you'll be successful. Yeah,
Right.
I mean, you can pump out a lot of garbage, and all you need is a few good ones to go viral. And you can't replace experience. Like if you do 30 days, 10 TikToks a day, you're 300 TikToks in. You can't replace that with any amount of reading or studying or courses. Just, yeah, freaking do it and do a lot of it. It's good advice.
So there you go. There you have it. People always ask me, like, what's the ROI on TikTok? I'm like, well, it's not going to pay you out immediately. It's a little bit of an investment, and it does pay off in the long term. And I don't even think that's long term. To me, that's short term. And I'm sure
Yes.
that's not the only deal you got off of TikTok either.
Right. So I'm about 4 months into my TikTok journey. Okay. And maybe 5. And I can point to 3 clients, a $25,000 and 2 $5,000 clients. So you know the financial ROI is there, but I can't tell you how often, pretty much every time I see someone, Alex, including you, it's like the first thing they say, dude, I'm watching your TikToks. And by the way, my TikToks are not just on TikTok. I film them and my team posts them all over the internet. They're on Facebook, they're on Instagram, they're on LinkedIn. And if I check any of those social medias right now, I've got inboxes full of people I don't even know who are like, dude, loving the whatever. But I think what's even more powerful is the people who do know me and they have been following me. And now I'm just like so on their radar. And I think that I'm going to be using these 120 videos. I'm sure I'll make another 120 of them within the next 4 months. But I'll be using them for the next 20 years. Like I said, that this is wisdom that doesn't go out of style.
Yeah, I love what you said. Timeless content, timeless short form content. It's another stage, really. Right? It's another place to show up as an authority, to show up with credibility, another place where people can watch you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And hold on 1 second. Sorry. My daughter almost let the cat out.
Let's go back to traditional speaking opportunities. You're standing in front of a room of people. Where are these people? Well, there are networking events happening right now in your city. Multiple events are happening at this very moment. And depending on where you live, we had this pandemic the last few years, and a lot of things were shut down. There was still meetings happening all the time, mostly on Zoom. But now, so if I was a real estate agent, I would want to be speaking to buyers and sellers, obviously, mortgage brokers, lawyers, home inspectors, all the different players on the team of the symphony that is home buying and selling. And you know, it's not too creative to be a real estate agent and say, okay, well, 7 mistakes to avoid when buying your next house. It doesn't need to be just about home sales. It could be about time management. It could be about goal setting. It could be about running a marathon and how to train for a marathon. It could be any form of wisdom that you can share. And in fact, it's probably more effective to speak outside of the expertise of buying and selling homes, because every other real estate agent is talking about those things. So why don't you be different?
Yeah, totally. I think as long as you're showing up with wisdom, the content doesn't matter. They're getting to know, like, and trust you. And
Yeah.
once they know, like, and trust you, and then you also happen to be a realtor, okay, great.
Yeah. So if I was going to look for speaking engagements as a real estate agent, I would reach out to offices and say, do you have a meeting where most or all of your team are going to be gathering, like a lunch meeting? And would you like to have a guest speaker? That's it. And that's where you're going to get in person, in front of people, shaking hands, meeting people. And that's really great. It's a significant investment of time and energy. Slightly less significant investment of time and energy would say, hey, you want to hop on an Instagram live? Let's do something tomorrow. In fact, right now, my girlfriend, who's a mortgage agent, is, let's see, what time is it? Yeah, she's probably live right now on Instagram. And she's interviewing a woman who has a yoga business. And she's just interviewing her about her yoga business. Why? Well, because she knows a lot of people. And you can interview someone and they can interview you, and then it goes on the internet, and it goes on the internet forever. That's the thing. This podcast that you and I are doing, Alex, we'll get some people listening to it now. We'll get some people listening to it in a month. We will get people finding this podcast, Alex, in 3 years, and they'll listen to it.
Totally.
When people discover me, they Google me and they start. I mean, I got a whole bunch of podcasts out there, by the time they get on the phone with me, they're 10 hours in to our relationship. They heard the story about when I had the mulch on the driveway, and they heard the story about, when I traveled to Spain and walked the Camino de Santiago, and they get on the phone with me and they're like, they feel like they know me, and that's great.
Yeah, that's a great tip actually for everybody listening. It's like there's plenty of podcasts that are looking for guests. You could apply to one of those, get on their podcast, and then now for your Google results, that podcast episode will show up, showing you off as somebody who's an expert, even if you're not really an expert, right? Everybody's an expert in something.
And a great way to get an audience with someone is to say, hey, I'd love to interview you. Almost everyone says yes, right? If you say, hey, can I pick your brain and take you out for coffee? You might get it's not a good thing, I don't know. But if you say, can we do a 30-minute interview? So now you might be thinking, yeah, but I don't have a podcast. I don't have a fancy microphone. You don't need any of that. Just get on Zoom, and you know how to get on Zoom with somebody. Just press record. And then when you're done, you've got a video file. What do you do with a video file? Post it on Facebook, post it on Instagram, post it on YouTube. That's all you need to do. Podcast is a little bit more, there's syndications and uploading and everything. And I got a podcast guy called Luke. I have no idea how it works, but Luke gets the video and it goes on the internet. So if you want to have a podcast and invest a little bit in it, that's good. And you do become a bit more of an authority when you have a podcast. My podcast, by the way, is called the Expert Speaker Podcast. Check it out if you like. But if you don't have a podcast, you can still interview someone. Just get on a video call that has a recording function and just press record. Or Instagram has an Instagram live. So just go live and you add someone. And then at the end of your Instagram live, you got a video file that you can then go post everywhere. And then title it in such a way that your audience would be like, ooh, dang, I got to listen to that. Alex, if we were going to title this episode, what would we call it to make it really sizzly? What's the name of this podcast?
The magic behind getting on stage,
yeah,
and gaining influence.
Perfect. And what's the name of this podcast?
The Top Real Estate Influencers Podcast.
Okay. So yeah, the magic of getting on stage for real estate influencers. That by the way, I love the word for in marketing because it speaks to the ideal client, speaks to the target audience. So 7 mistakes to make, 7 mistakes to avoid for first-time home buyers.
Yep. I got a selfish question for you, and then we got to wrap it up. My selfish question is, I want to get on stage at Inman, let's say, or my speakers, my sales guys want to get on stage, or any realtor wants to get on stage. What do you think people are looking at when you submit an application to get on stage? Like, what are the things that would have them pick you over other speakers?
Okay, you're asking the wrong question. Because you said submitting an application, and only amateurs submit applications, because when you submit an application, you give them the right to refuse you without falling into your seductive charm. You skip the application altogether and you just talk to the person who can get you on stage and let them get you on stage. So I break this down word for word, line for line, email by email in my book, expertspeakerbook.com. You can get the book at expertspeakerbook.com. You can download it instantly for free, or you can get it on Amazon. It's called Expert Speaker, 5 Steps to Grow Your Business with Public Speaking. And my step-by-step, phrase-by-phrase, how to get on stages goes like this. So first you reach out, you find out who is the person you need to influence. And that question sounds like, who's the person I would need to speak to? Who's selecting the speakers? You're trying to find a name. And then you get to that person and you want to build a relationship. So you say, I'd love for you to share with me your goals for this event. What kind of speakers are you looking for? What topics do you already have covered? I might be able to refer a colleague to fulfill one of the topics you're looking for. Let them tell you the topics that they're looking for and what they already have covered. And you say, oh, I might be a fit for the topic you mentioned about boom, boom, boom. So instead of saying, I speak about this, so that they say, oh, no, we already have someone, you ask them, what are they looking for? And then you go, oh, you'd love my talk for this. Then you say, let me ask you something. If you were to select me as your speaker, and I came in and I delivered the best speech you've ever seen, everyone came up to you afterwards and said, oh my God, thank you for bringing Alex Montalenti as the speaker. And then wonderful things happened as a result of that speech. And a year later, you're looking back on the anniversary of that speech and you think, man, bringing in Alex was the best decision we ever made. It was because of that speech that all these wonderful things happened. Let me ask you, what would have to happen between now and a year from now for you to feel like bringing me in as your speaker was the best decision you ever made? That question gets them imagining bringing you in as a speaker and you crushing it, and they get praise and wonderful things happen and you're best buds and you're celebrating a year later the anniversary of your speech. Listen very carefully and you say back to them what they've just said, and then you say, perfect, let's do that. So the relationship with the person is key. And then you say, I'm happy to fill out the application. I just don't want to waste your time and I don't want to waste mine. What do I need to put in there to make sure that it gets approved? So are you saying that if I fill it out with those exact things, it's going to be approved? Are you sure? Anything else we need to do? Okay, cool. If they say, what do you charge? You say, I'm happy to work within your budget. Why don't we make sure that I'm the right speaker first? And if we both agree that I'm the right speaker, I'd be happy to work within your budget. Fair enough? So then you ask them that same question about what would make this the best speech you've ever had. And then you go, great. Sounds like I'm a great fit. What financial parameters would you like us to work within? They give you a number and you say, I can work with that.
I love it. Drop the mic right there. I'm going to have all my team watch that for sure. All right, Majeed, this was magic. So it's no joke. I think we gave some great value here to the community. And what is the best way for them to reach out to you, to find you? You dropped a few spots here and there, but let's hear the whole.
Yeah,
all the best ways.
You can grab my book if you like reading, expertspeakerbook.com. If you like listening to books, I'm on Audible. It's called Expert Speaker, 5 Steps to Grow Your Business with Public Speaking. If you're interested in developing a personal brand and a signature speech that attracts your ideal client, you can book a strategy call with me, expertspeaker.com/apply. We just took our signature training and we slashed the price in half. So if we're still offering that great price, you should book your call now. expertspeaker.com/apply. Book a one-on-one strategy call with me. This is if you want to work with me on building a speech that attracts your ideal client, makes sales. Every time you speak, you'll elevate your personal brand, you'll elevate your confidence, your clarity, your charisma, and you'll be seen by your peers and your prospects as an expert, and that pays dividends over and over and over. So book your call, expertspeaker.com/apply.
I love it, brother. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Thank you, Alex.